Now, week two in the NFL Thursday Night Football sees an NFC East clash as the New York Giants head to Washington to take on the football team. I've been joined by Paddy Power trader Dan Whitty to give us his best bet builder of the game. Dan, before we go any further, can you tell everybody what a bet builder is, please?
Yeah, so it's a bet that Paddy Power do where you can make multiple selections from the same match and basically put them all into one bet.
Okay, you get yourself a nice juicy price with a bet builder. And the one we picked out here is over 20 to 1. So what are the selections you've got for us in the bet builder this week, Daniel?
So going with the Washington football team on the money line, the total points under 40.5. Terry McLaurin score an anytime touchdown and Logan Thomas over 49.5 receiving yards.
Okay, now it has to be said these two teams had poor starts to the season last week. So what makes you think that the Washington football team, after losing the quarterback, will still be able to handle the Giants?
Yeah, because as you said, they're both coming off losses in their opening games, and probably Washington coming off a bit worse with their quarterback Matt Fitzpatrick injuring his hip and likely out for a couple of weeks. They're coming in with their backup Taylor Heineke. Yeah, and then the Giants, they're pretty much not in much better a situation with their quarterback Daniel Jones, who's very, very shaky against the Broncos. In fact, he's actually the second fastest player to 40 career turnovers, and I think this is probably where the big difference for the Washington to win this will be. Basically, with the difference of the two teams here, the Washington defense should be able to force Jones into a couple of costly turnovers. So yeah, this could easily be won by the difference of a field goal. So I'd rather kind of take the Washington football team on the money line here instead of taking the 3.5 point handicap.
Okay, so you're expected it not to be a classic by the sounds of it, Tursana, and this is reflected in the under points here, under 40.5. That by NFL standards, that is a low points total. But you think that these two teams won't even be able to put that much up?
Yeah, so like Giants here, their star running back has only been nursed back to health after his ACL injury last year. He only posted 26 yards from 10 carries last week, and they seem to be going along a similar line this week. Gibson for the Russian running back for Washington fared a little bit better with a solid 90, but I don't really think either of these teams are going to dominate on the ground. Then if you combine that with both teams having fairly dominant defenses and probably a lot of questionable quarterback play here, could easily turn into a close, ugly battle, and I think the under points would be a good bet.
Yeah, makes sense. The under points under 40.5. That's the second leg. Now we're moving into the player props here, and Terry McLaurin, now that the star wide receiver of the Washington football team, and you think despite the fact that he's going to have Taylor Heineke slinging him the ball, he still is going to score a touchdown. So what makes you think that?
Yeah, so he's the leading receiver last week, nearly making up 50% of Washington's receiving yards. Since he came in 2019, he's got about 25% of all of Washington targets. So they kind of will be hoping, Heineke will be hoping to get the speedy wide receiver going vertical and stretch the Giants secondary here. So like obviously the leading light in the offense, and they said Heineke will be relying heavily on McLaurin here just to get them in the points.
So McLaurin, anytime touchdown scorer, is the third part of that leg. And the final part, you're going for Logan Thomas, the tight end for the Washington football team, his reception yards to be over 49.5. So what makes you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, so when Heineke came in kind of midway through the second quarter here, last week, he went 11 for 15 for 122 yards. And he targeted Thomas 3 times, and Thomas caught all of them, including Washington's only TD last week. He kind of broke out as their number one tight end last season after a slow start, but he finished it near 10 yards, an average of 10 yards a catch. So basically, look, if Heineke can target him probably around 5 times, maybe 6, we should really have a runner here for the over 49.5.
So that's the final part of our bet builder from our Paddy Power trader Dan Whitty. And there's a 20 to 1 shot for the Thursday night game. He is going with the Washington football team on the money line under 40.5 points in the total points total. Terry McLaurin, the Washington wide receiver, anytime touchdown scorer, and it's the tight end for the Washington football team, Logan Thomas, who's the final leg. His reception yards to be over 49.5 at the moment, and that comes to about a juicy 20 to 1. It's Thursday night football, and that is the bet builder this week from Dan Whitty.